Hi guys, in this episode of Shri series, we're going to be talking about linear graphs, but to be more specific, finding the equation of a straight line. In the previous videos that I put up regarding linear graphs, we talked about x-intercept, y-intercept, and the gradient. And I remember in the previous session, we talked about how to calculate gradients. Now, calculating gradients is an important thing because you're going to be learning how to find the equation of a straight line. So before I go any further, the most important aspect of finding the equation of a straight line is to write down the formula to find that. Now, before I go any further, you can see we've got a sketch graph here. You've got your y axis and your x-axis. Now, to see clearly here, what we have are the 2 points 2, 3 and 4, 11. All right, so what I can do is I can zoom a little bit just to show you. We've got 2 points 2, 3 and 4, 11. All right, so before we go any further, we need to understand what is the equation of a straight line. All right, so the equation of a straight line is y equals mx plus c. All right, so always remember the formula for finding the equation of a straight line is y equals mx plus c. All right, now what does m mean and what does c mean? All right, m means your gradient. All right, so m is your gradient and c is your y-intercept. Now, in the previous videos, I mentioned that your y-intercept is a point where the line cuts your y-axis, all right? So if you look at this equation or this graph, that is your y-intercept. It cuts your y-axis, all right? It can be very confusing because a lot of students sometimes think that is your y-intercept, all right? Unfortunately, that's not the case. Your y-intercept is c and your gradient is m. Your y and your x are the pair of coordinates, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we solve this question. All right, now the first thing we need to do is to calculate the gradient. Now, if you remember from the previous video, the formula for calculating the gradient is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what I'll do is I will bring these 2 points here. Suppose you've got 2, 3 and 4, 11. So what I've now done is I've brought 2, 3 and 4, 11 here. So in that way, you guys can visually see it. Now, if you remember from the previous session, we allocate that as x1, y1, x2 and y2. I mentioned before there isn't any particular order. You could put that as x2 and y2 and put that as x1 and y1. But the most important thing to remember is you got to be consistent with the pairing. All right. Next, what we do, we substitute the points. So what is y2? 11. And what is y1? 3. So 11 minus 3 over 4 minus 2. So what we're literally doing is substituting those numbers in this formula to find your gradient. 11 minus 3 is 8 and 4 minus 2 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So your gradient now becomes 4. So the first thing we need to do is write the equation y is equal to mx plus c. The second thing is to calculate your gradient. All right, what do we do next? All right, so your equation now will be y is equal to mx plus c, and what I'm now going to do is in place of m, I'm going to put 4 because we've worked out the gradient is 4 there. So y is equal to 4x plus c. Now, what do we do from there? The next step is we need to find the value of c, which is your y-intercept. Now, in order to do that, you've got to pair y and x. Now, you could either use 2, 3 or 4, 11 in this equation to find the value of c. All right, so in other words, you could put y as 3 and x as 2, and then you find the value of c. Or you can alternatively put y as 11 or x as 4. All right, either way, you're going to get the same answer, and I will show that to you. As a rule of thumb, I encourage my students to pick the pair which has smaller numbers, so it's easy to calculate. So I would pick 2, 3. So I would write 2, 3 just to show you that that's the pair of coordinates that I'm going to be using. All right, so in place of y, I'm going to put 3, and in place of x, I'm going to put 2. So what do I do there? So I put 3 is equal to 4, and then I'm going to put my x as 2 plus c. All right, so that's literally what I've done. In place of y, I've put 3. In place of x, I've put 2. So 3 is equal to 8 plus c, and now that becomes a linear equation, and therefore c is equal to -5. So what that means is my y-intercept therefore is -5. My value of c is -5. What do I do from there? All right, now you write down the equation, which is y is equal to mx plus c. We have found the value of m, which is your gradient, that is 4, and the value of c, which is -5. And all you need to do is write down. So if you look at what I've done here, y is equal to mx plus c. All I need to do is put y is equal to 4x minus 5. So that is going to be your equation of the straight line. So what I've done now is, in place of m, I've put 4, and in place of c, I've put -5. All right. Now, I mentioned to you before, you can choose to put 4,11 as well, and you will get the same answer. So I've got the space here. Why not use that space to show the other way? That also gives you the same answer. So what I do here is I will put y is equal to mx plus c. And instead of putting 2, 3, I'm going to put 4,11. And what that means is, in place of x, I'm going to put 4, and in place of y, I'm going to put 11. All right, so what do I put there? I put 11. And what's my m? 4. And what's my value of x? That's going to be 4 and 4 here plus c. All right, so 11 is going to be 16 plus c, and c is equal to -5. All right, so in both methods, the value of c is equal to -5, and my equation is going to be y is equal to 4x -5. All right, so this goes to show whether I put 2, 3 or 4,11 in the original equation of a straight line, you will get the same y-intercept. All right, so this is how we solve finding the equation of a straight line. Just to summarize, the first thing we need to do is to write the equation. The equation will always be y is equal to mx plus c. M is your gradient and c is your y-intercept. The next step you need to do is to write the formula for your gradient, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and substitute the values that are here. And then the next point you need to do is pair either 2, 3 or 4, 11, and then when you respectively pair, you get your y-intercept, and your equation becomes y is equal to 4x minus 5. All right, that's how you work through this question. I'm just going to zoom this a little bit down, so in that way we get the whole picture. Just remember, again, this topic requires you to understand other prior topics. So for example, you should know your integers, especially when you're calculating your gradient. If you don't know your integer, then this question is going to be hard. The next question, the next aspect is you should also know how to work out linear equations. A lot on those topics on linear equations are in my previous sessions. If you don't know how to use linear equations, this question becomes very, very hard. The next point is using substitution. If you don't know how to simply substitute, then this question becomes very, very hard. In the next set of sessions and videos, we're going to be talking about calculating the midpoint and finding the length of 2 points. All right. Thanks guys for listening. Bye now.